What's going on, traders? We got a few things to talk about. We're going to talk about the overall market and where it can go from here. We're also going to talk about a semiconductor stock that institutions seem to be loading calls on. And no, it is not Nvidia. Before we start, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So right now we're looking at the VIX 4-hour time frame. And in our last video, we were talking about how for the past 2 Mondays, the VIX will gap towards the upside here. January 24th, this was a Friday. We get through the weekend, the VIX gapped up that following Monday. Here, same thing. January 31st, this was a Friday. You get through the weekend, that following Monday, VIX gaps towards the upside. Can't say we're surprised, or can't say I'm surprised that we didn't gap up again today. I think that would have been diabolical work for us to gap towards the upside and the market just tank the day after the Super Bowl. I didn't consider that the last video. I did not consider that yesterday was the Super Bowl. I don't think I've ever seen the market tank or correct or crash the day after the Super Bowl. That would be pretty evil work. You're watching your favorite team win, you're drunk, you get a hangover, and you got calls in the market, and the next day the market just tanks to oblivion. That would be pretty diabolical work. But if we're looking at the VIX 4-hour time frame, we are sitting at support at 15.8. And we've been sitting here pretty much the entirety of this afternoon, right? We've been sitting here, we've been stagnant here. We've seen little, signs of life from here. We've seen little bounces here and there, but nothing significant enough to really determine how tomorrow will go. But I will say that you should pay attention to the VIX. You should take the VIX pretty serious in this area. It's in a pretty dangerous area. You get really dangerous once you start getting below 15 because, like I said in the last few videos, every time the VIX gets between 15 and 14, it tends to bounce or even gap back towards the upside. Here, you see it here. You got around about 14.5, 14.3. You started to bounce towards the upside. Here, same thing. You got around 15.5, and then you start to bounce towards the upside. Down here, you guys, as low as about 14.7, and then you start to gap towards the upside, so on and so forth. You guys get the idea. So I do think the VIX can potentially bounce from here. It's just a matter of when and what causes it. So don't be surprised if we get maybe news overnight or news tomorrow morning. I do know Jerome Powell testifies tomorrow morning. So this is something you definitely want to pay attention to. I do think the VIX is going to head towards 19. Highest I'm looking at is about 20. We do note that institutions are loaded up in 27 calls on the VIX for, I believe, March 21st. Don't quote me on that. I forgot the actual date. And we're pretty illiquid all the way towards 25, 25, 24, give or take. Pretty illiquid in this area. So I do imagine that the VIX is going to want to mitigate this area. Now, whether you believe that the VIX can be plotted or not, regardless, it still has a pattern, right? The VIX still follows a pattern over and over and over again. Here, every time it gets within 14 and 15, it bounces towards the upside. At least for the past month or so, this has been happening. So whether you think the VIX can be plotted or not is still clear as day following a pattern. So definitely want to take this serious. Definitely want to take this area serious. We can easily bounce from here. If we do break down from here, we will want to see the VIX break below 14. All right. If we're talking about the market being bullish, if we're being optimistic for all-time highs, we want to see the VIX really break below 14 and then possibly start filling this gap all the way at around 13.7, 13.6, give or take. So that's what I'm looking at for the VIX. We look at the SPY. And so one thing I pointed out in the last video was a few bearish patterns, right? And so on the SPY, we had this evening star pattern. Now, one thing I did say is that even though you have a bearish pattern or even a bullish pattern, it doesn't mean that it has to play out the next day. And one thing I did point out was that you can easily just bounce from here. I wasn't counting on that to happen, but again, I forgot that yesterday was the Super Bowl. But you can easily just bounce from here, maybe consolidate within here, or you could possibly head higher before seeing this evening star, slash bullish engulfing, bearish engulfing candle start to play out, and then we start heading towards the downside, right? So I still think this is in play until we break above it. And if we do break above it, I do imagine a squeeze is going to happen above 610, and then we can start heading towards that target of 616, 618, give or take. All right, so that is my all-time high target if we just so happen to break above 610. Let's get rid of this so I can just map this out for you guys real quick. So if we do get above 610, main thing you want to see is just a break, retest, and then I imagine we're going to retest this rising channel all the way towards 616, 618, give or take. And then I do believe that that is going to be the top for the market. That's assuming that we're going to head towards all-time highs again. If we don't, then obviously we're just going to head straight down from this point on. So Definitely something you want to pay attention to. Your key levels still remain the same. Right now, we are above a key level 604. 605 is your psych level. You get above 605, then obviously you're heading towards 608, right where these bears are. Let's zoom in real quick. Right where these bears are, there's a lot of bears in this area here as well. So you want to get above 608. You get above 608, then obviously you're heading towards 610. You get above 610. We already talked about that. Chances are you're heading towards about 616, 618, give or take. In regards to downside, all right, still the same, guys. 602. I did say this in the Discord. I said if the SPY gets below 602, then I will consider loading up puts. Actually, I'm going to change that to 601 to be safe. I think that's just a better and more safe option. You get below 601. And the reason why I'm saying this, right, just in case you guys are new to the channel or you just don't understand why I'm saying 601, not only is it a key level, but these guys right here, these bears right here, okay, they're going to step in. Okay, if the SPY gets back below 601, 602, give or take, you can just say 601 to be safe. These guys right here, these bears in this area right here within this evening star pattern, they're going to step in. Okay, they're going to step in, they're going to start drooling at the mouth. And then our next key level of support is 598. You break below 598, chances are you're heading to the pits of the earth. All right, so that's what I'm looking at for the SPY in regards to downside and possibly load up puts if we just so happen to get below that 601 target. That's what I'm going to be looking at. I think these guys are going to step in the moment that happens. We've seen bulls just really fight to stay above 602 all day today. I mean, go to the 4 hour time frame, and every attempt bears tried to make to get us below or even close to 602. I mean, you see these bullish wicks here. Bulls just stepped in every single time, guys. So if you're bullish, you definitely want to see this move hold. You definitely want to get above 605. You get above 605, we'll say 605.5, then you're right in the territory of these guys right here. Okay. And these guys will probably hold things up or attempt to hold things up. So there's a lot of turbulence around 605. A lot of turbulence here. There's a massive structure here. I mean, right here, you see it here as well. You see it here as well. Structure right here. You bounced off support. You rejected resistance right here. You broke above it. You broke back down, so on and so forth. And you mounted right here. So definitely a tough area to break past. I imagine we're going to need some really good news to really get through this area right here and start considering that move towards 608, 610, and then from there, obviously all-time highs. We do have a gap all the way at 600, so that's another reason why I think these guys will step in if we just get below 602. We get below 602, these guys will definitely want to step in, and they're going to take advantage. All right, they're foaming at the mouth. Again, these are not bears. These are silverback gorillas. These are them things off the last Venom movie. What are those things? Xenophages, whatever they are. These are those. Okay, these are a bunch of carnages. These guys, bunch of carnages. Okay, they're thirsty for blood. Okay, so they are ready. Okay, they're looking for any opportunity to drop this thing. So you definitely want to be careful getting calls right here. Do what you want. At the end of the day, it's not financial advice, but you definitely want to be careful here. Okay, I'm going to be careful. You do what you want. Okay, so that's what I got for the SPY triple Qs. Triple Qs it's kind of in a weird spot. So when we go to the daily time frame here, and this is hideous, first off. So on the daily time frame, you have this symmetrical triangle. Let me get rid of this so it's not confusing. But on the daily time frame, you have the symmetrical triangle, and this is what we rejected on Friday. We rejected the top of the symmetrical triangle on Friday. So you got your rejection here, you got your rejection here, and then you see bears are very strong right here. Okay. So in order for us to even start considering new highs, we need to break past these guys right here. These carnages, these evolved Charizards, whatever, like these guys are absolutely insane right here. Bears right here, this is where Jerome Powell originally sold off the market. Every time we get in this area, we get bad news. So once again, in this area between tomorrow and Wednesday, do not be surprised that we get bad news. Now, if we break out of this area, maybe tomorrow, maybe Jerome Powell says something during his testimony or whatever the case may be, or maybe some semiconductor news comes in. Who knows? But if we do break out of here prior to Wednesday CPI data, then I do think there's a chance we start heading towards all-time highs all over again. So definitely want to be careful here. This is not a spot that I will look to load calls. That's just me. Do what you want. You break below. Okay, so if you break below 522 all over again, these guys right here. Okay, these guys right here, they're going to step in. Okay, they're going to step in. All right, they're going to step in. They're going to be foaming at the mouth. They're going to be looking for blood. They're going to look for any opportunity to drop this thing. After that, you're looking at a move towards 520, 518, 515 is what you want to see hold. After that, 510 is what you want to see hold next. 510 is your last line of defense, guys. All right. I want to make this clear. I said this in the last video. 510 is your last line of defense. Why? I mean, you look at it. Just look at it. Bulls right here. Bullish wick right here. Bullish wick right here. Bulls have stepped in every single time we hit 510. You give this up, you're heading towards 503. You get below 503, pack your bags, you're going to the Diddy party, buddy. All right, oil up. So that's what I got for the triple Qs. Would not look to load up calls here. If anything, I would look to load get puts here, maybe go in a light position here. This is just me. Once again, I think this is a low risk opportunity. Now, obviously, the market is closed, so maybe we gap up tomorrow, maybe we gap down. I don't know. But if the triple Q stays here, I think this will be a very low risk trade to take puts on. You can set like a hard stop at around 532, something like that, and then go from there. So do what you want with that information. It's really up to you at the end of the day, right? You're gonna do what you want. So that's what I got for the triple Qs. Let's look at Bitcoin and then we'll get into some stocks real quick. So Bitcoin, still fighting this resistance right here. It's just fighting this resistance. Bulls keep stepping in. I will say that much. You got a lot of bullish wicks in this area, guys. A lot of bullish wicks, but once again, we just keep failing to get above this supply and demand zone right here on Bitcoin. We keep trying to get above 97,500. Maybe it happens overnight, but right now we're just stuck in this range. I don't really have much for Bitcoin as long as it stays below 99K. Don't really have much for it as long as it stays above 92K. I don't have much for it. We talk about this every video, so I'm not going to keep dragging it. But yeah, 88K, 87K is what you really want to look out for if Bitcoin ever gets close to that target. But right now, as in regards to upside, 99K, 100K, your psych level is what you want to see in order to be really bullish on Bitcoin or somewhat bullish on Bitcoin. So that's really all I have for Bitcoin. All right, so let's get into some stocks. We're going to talk about Nvidia, but I want to talk about Apple real quick, okay? So Apple, pretty bearish on this thing. I think this thing is going to continue to drop, unless I don't know. I don't know. It just needs some news, obviously. Apple has, no matter what the market has done, whether it's seeing upside, Apple just continues to slowly decline, right? It did, retest or break below 229. You really wanted to see that if you're bearish. It's retested 229 multiple times. Let's go to a smaller time frame. But as you guys can see, we keep retesting 229. And every time, bears step in. I mean, you see these bearish wicks right here. Every single time we try to get above 230, bears step in. Okay. And then we just break back below 229. So I do think Apple is going to head towards the 220s. I do believe the 200 SMA is at the 220 source. Trust me, bro. I don't have the 200 SMA up, but you just gotta trust me, bro. All right. So that's what I have for Apple. I don't really have any idea for upside here. I mean, it's pretty liquid towards 232. Maybe the market drags this thing back up, but I just don't have much for Apple here. I think it's going to just tank from here. If it gives up 227, it's been holding 227 today, then it's definitely going to drop from here. It's right in the territory of these guys. All right. Right in the territory of these guys right here. So if it drops below 227, oops, didn't mean to do that. So if Apple drops below 227, these bears right here, they're going to step in. All right. They're going to step in and they're going to drag it further down. All right. So that's what you want to see for Apple if you are being bearish on this thing. But yeah, I don't have much for Apple. I just don't see the upside here. Pretty liquid all the way towards the 250s. But I mean, obviously, Apple would need its own personal news, like some AI news or something for this move to even. For us to even think about this move here. All right. So keep an eye on Apple. I think it's going to head further down. It's always done the opposite of the market. I wouldn't say always, but when Nvidia pumps, then Apple tends to drops and vice versa. So, why they do that, I don't know. I guess it's to keep the market pretty stagnant. So if both of them start dropping, then the market's gonna like drop pretty fast. So, I do imagine that's probably the reason why institutions do stuff like that. So that's what I got for Apple. Nvidia. So one thing I was wrong about in the last video, you guys know I don't care about being wrong. I'm I'm gonna be right more than wrong. At least I'm gonna make sure I am right. But Nvidia, one thing I was wrong about this being a trap right here. This is a reversal pattern, by the way. Okay, so that's the reason why I thought this could be a trap right here. And I did say until Nvidia gets above 130, I'm not buying that move, that mounted move above 129. And so what I thought would happen was Nvidia, heads retest 225, trap these bulls right here, retest 225, and then trap bears and then head higher. Okay, so that's what I was thinking Nvidia was going to do. I don't think it would make sense for Nvidia to head towards 100. You guys know that I think Nvidia is heading towards 100 soon, before filling this gap. So yes, I do think Nvidia is going to fill this gap. Highest I'm looking at is about 148, 150. Lowest I'm looking at is simply this gap fill at around 142. Now, somebody in the Discord wanted me to go over NVIDIA again. So we're going to talk about what I talked about in the last video. Every time NVIDIA gets above 140, bears step in. Okay, every time. 140 is your wall. And so, just in case you're like, oh, NVIDIA gets above 140 all the time. What do you mean? Let's go to the monthly time frame. We're going to go over this again. I'm sorry. Okay, we're going to go over this one more time. And then I'm not doing it anymore. Okay. So lock in. Okay, I need you guys to lock in here. So right here, this candle right here, every time, let's actually get rid of all this real quick. So this candle right here, this monthly candle, keep in mind, this is the monthly time frame. So a very, very powerful time frame we're talking about here. So we're going to start with this candle here, right? Every time Nvidia hits 140, bear step in, or not hit 140, but gets above 140, bear step in, brings it back below 140. So we're going to start with this candle right here. Wick to 140.69, bear stepped in, dropped us. So now we're going to fast forward to the future. This candle right here, what happened? We wicked all the way towards 144.42. What happened? Bears stepped in, brought us back below 140. Same thing here. This candle right here. Went as high as 152.89. What happened? Bears stepped in, brought us back below 140. Same thing here, same thing here. Here, you got as high as about 153. This was when Nvidia made new highs, right? Bears stepped in, like immediately, almost that same day, we went to 153, and Nvidia gave all of this back and broke us back below 140. So, if Nvidia gets above 140, okay, let me do this real quick. If Nvidia gets above 140, guys, I'm not saying load up puts or anything like that. All I'm going to say is just be careful, okay? Can it fill this gap at 142? Absolutely. Can it go all the way to 148? Absolutely. But once, if Nvidia blesses you with a move to 148, and you don't care about being bullish or bearish on Nvidia, you're not a perma bear, you're not a perma bull, you just care about where the money is, I would say this much. I would consider getting puts here. Okay. Reason number one. Okay. I already gave you guys reason number one. Every time Nvidia gets above 140, the bear step in. Okay, simple as that. All right. That's your main reason right there. Okay. I just gave you the number one reason out of all reasons. That monthly time frame is diabolical. Every time Nvidia gets above 140, these bears right here, these bears right here in this bearish engulfing candle, these bears over here, these bears in this area here, they all step in and they tank Nvidia back below 140. So if Nvidia blesses you with a move between 142 and 148, do what you want with that information, okay? But again, these carnivores, these evil carnages that's all producing babies and going crazy here right as well. You got a bunch of xenophages right here, these silverback gorillas, these evolved cocaine bears, these psychos, they're all ready for Nvidia to get back up here, and I'm almost guaranteeing that they're going to step in. Okay, they're going to step in unless Nvidia gets an absolutely insane news. These guys are foaming at the mouth. They are ready. They are locked in. Okay, so once we get back up here, which I do think it's going to happen, I don't think it wouldn't make sense for this not to happen at this point. But I think the obvious move here, and I said this in the Discord, I think this is too obvious of a move, right? I think this is too obvious of a move for retail traders, right? We get up here to one this gap fill, and then retail traders get excited. They're like, "Oh, let's get puts, right? Let's start shorting Nvidia." I think that would be too obvious of a move. All right, maybe I'm overthinking it. I think we can head as high as about 148, 150, give or take. We're right in the territory of these guys right here. We'll lowball it and say about 145. But we get right in the territory of these bears right here, these bears right here, these bears right here, and these bears right here, and that's when they're going to step in. All right. It's also important to note that we do have a rising wedge pattern, a massive rising wedge pattern. The short-term move for this, believe it or not, has not been made yet. That's the crazy part about it. So we still have some ways to go. I still think Nvidia is going to see 100. Take it, leave it, be mad about it, don't care. But yes, pre-split Nvidia was 1,000. At 100 is 1,000 for Nvidia. So it makes no sense to be mad about that. 100 is still a good price for Nvidia pre-split. Okay, so just want to bring this to you guys' attention. I do think Nvidia can continue to the upside. What does that do for the market? Possibly pump it towards the upside. We'll see. If anything, I would simply wait for a retest. That's just me. Wait for a retest of about 127, 128, and then possibly start filling this gap towards the upside. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at for Nvidia. I'm definitely going to start considering puts within this range because bears are very, very strong in this area. So we'll see, right? And so the stock that I was talking about in regards to institutions loading up calls is TSM. Okay, TSM. Institutions are loading up boatload of calls on this thing. So we go to quant data, and in our Discord, we got alerted that TSM was, institutions are loading up calls for TSM. And so we click this spike right here, and give it a moment to load. But when we're looking at TSM, right, ironic enough, institutions have 220 calls for April 17th. And the reason why I say this is ironic is because there's a gap that needs to be filled all the way at 220 for TSM. Right, so as you guys can see, the date is February 10th. That's today. This was 5 minutes before market close, and I do think AI or we're getting news tonight in regards to AI and Europe or whoever. I don't know, but let me know in the comments below. I might be misquoting that, but regardless, you got TSM calls for April 17th, 2025, 220 strike, right? And then they were loaded at around 207.79. The contracts are pretty expensive if you have like a small account or something, but it's just something to watch if you want. They were at the ask, right? Premium 400K, 100K, 100K, so on and so forth. You get the idea. And the sentiment was bullish or is bullish, right? Currently bullish sentiment. And then these are the various institutions that are trading TSM towards the upside or expecting TSM to head to the upside. And so you look at the chart on TSM, and yeah, it pretty much lines up. You have a gap that needs to be filled all the way at 220, 221.4, give or take. And once again, I think these bears are going to step in once you get in here. I think TSM is going to head back towards the 180s from here, so I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this thing. And I'm definitely looking at 195 puts for March if we just so happen to see this move happen tomorrow. Now, I will say this. I will be looking at calls on this if TSM gets above 212. I'm going to look at a quick little probably day trade or, a day or two, whatever. It just depends on how fast this move happens. TSM typically doesn't like, go crazy or anything like that. But given the news that we're possibly going to have tonight and possibly tomorrow morning with Jerome Powell testifying, I do imagine that TSM could move pretty fast. So if TSM gets above 212, 213, give or take, then I'm going to be looking at some quick positions to fill this gap. And then we'll see what happens from there. But from there, I do think this rising wedge is going to play out its measured move. Its measured move is all the way, or short-term measured move is all the way at around 180. Lowest it can go is 160. I don't think 160 is going to happen anytime soon, but 180 is definitely possible for TSM. What causes that? I don't know. Maybe CPI data. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, this rising wedge still in play, guys. So you definitely want to pay attention to this. And that's pretty much all I have for this video. Once again, even though we didn't like tank today, I wasn't really expecting the market to go absolutely ballistic to the upside. It would have been nice if the VIX did spike to the upside, if you're bearish. But other than that, wasn't expecting much to happen today, and that's exactly what we got. I do think the market is still going to head towards the downside once semiconductors are done. Once Nvidia is done making this move, I do think semiconductors is going to help drag the market down. So I think the market is just overall waiting on this to happen. Okay, I think this gap is getting the market is waiting on these gaps to get filled with semiconductors, and then we'll see what happens from there. So let me know what you guys think in regards to the overall market. I guess this will carry the market towards previous highs. If anything, if semiconductors do get blessed with this move towards this gap fill, I do think this move is kind of too obvious. We'll see. I think this is an excellent opportunity to trap bulls, but we'll see. If this gap gets filled, It's expected. If it doesn't get filled, then it was just too obvious, obviously. So we'll see. But other than that, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Just keep it respectful as always. Um, you guys are getting more you trolls are getting more diabolical with your comments. It's insane. But bless your hearts, man. You guys need some serious therapy. But other than that, Discord link is in the description below. And until the next video, traders, have a good one.